After a tough loss in the singles final of the 2011 USHA National One-Wall Singles, what do you think your chances are this year of capturing the title?
I think my chances are pretty good this year, considering that I just beat Pee Wee in the finals of the Mayor's Cup. So I like my chances.
Who do you view as your toughest competition right now? I mean, yes, you did beat Pee Wee, but he's beaten you also. Some other guys have. And you may not run into him. I'm sure you're going to be on one side of the draw and he'll be on the other side.
Caesar and Pee Wee are my toughest opponents. Pee Wee has a strong, dominant right hand. He's quick, and he has a really good serve that takes you off the court. Caesar has really good serves, two good hands, a whole bunch of shots, and good hook serves. So that gives anybody trouble.
I think Pee Wee's a little more youthful right now than Caesar. Or maybe I should say he's in a little better shape at this point. I think Caesar's not getting to, with a change with his whole family life and a real job, that he's not really 100% of what he'd like to be. Fink referred to you as currently being the best all-around handball player. Do you agree with that statement? And how do you think other players like Brady, Pichot, Lenning, Moreno, etc. Fit into a claim on that distinction?
I think I am the all-around best player, and the only people who come close out of those people would probably be Moreno and Emmett, since they came down to play the one wall. But other than that, I do think I'm the best overall.
Well, how many of these guys could you beat, let's say, in 4-wall or 3-wall?
I've actually never beaten any of those guys in 4-wall.
Okay. And 3-wall?
Well, I beat Moreno, but I've lost to Emmett.
Lenny?
Lost to Lenny.
Now, I know you haven't played Brady, but Brady seems like the doesn't seem, he is the dominating player in 4-wall. I would have to think would do well in 3-wall also.
Yeah, probably. He's got a good serve.
All right, so if these guys could beat you in 3-wall and 4-wall, then even if they couldn't beat you in 1-wall, maybe one of them are actually the best all-around player.
It's possible, but I'm not lacking in my 4-wall game as much as they're lacking in their 1-wall game. So they can't do to me in 3-wall, 4-wall what I can do to them in 1-wall. So I think that kind of favors me a little bit.
That's an interesting point, but how much, and since you brought that up, how much work do you think these guys would really need in 1-wall? I mean, Moreno, Lenning, Pichot beat Pee Wee. Right now you say that's your biggest opposition. Lenning came within an inch of winning the 1-wall tournament in Tucson.
For 1-wall, Moreno, Sean Lenning, and Emmett are very good at 1-wall, but they just make a lot of hand errors because I guess they're used to their sidewalls. So that'd just be the biggest issue, just serving and shooting and not trying to pass or drive too deep.
What do you think about Pee Wee being the current King of the Courts champion, small ball champion, which he also fell just 3 points shy of slamming last year, and the front ball champion?
I think that's great. I think it's amazing. I mean, I wish I could have done it. If I could have done it, I would obviously have done it. But he's all-around game. He plays hard. Each one of those games, he just plays really hard. That's all you can expect that from Pee Wee. And I think that's amazing that he can do that.
Well, you came close to beating Pooch. I mean, you were definitely in that game. If I remember right, you went a tiebreaker, and the second game you actually slaughtered him.
Yeah.
I think you left him on 2 or 3 points. How did you feel? That's the first front ball tournament that you played in. How did you feel about this new game? Serving from the back, not being able to kill the ball.
I liked the game a lot. The service part I liked. One serve, make the best of it. But the rally was really entertaining. The drives and the taps. I really liked that aspect of the game. The aspect of the game I didn't like was that the lines were out. That made the court a little smaller for me.
Well, their court is actually 3 feet wider than our court. We just use the regulation one more lines because it's simpler. Plus we're all one more players, so we're accustomed to looking at the lines on the wall and on the floor. I actually lost to Billy in Central Park because I looked at the line on the floor and I faked them and wound up hitting the ball. I had the .1, but because I was expecting the line on the floor to line up with the line on the wall, I hit the ball out on the wall. So even though it was good on the floor, it was out on the wall.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a transition. But personally, I think it's a great game. It's very physical. And, at first people say, wow, it's only 10, 10, and 5, and it's rally scoring. This can be over in a minute. They're really short games. But I can't remember anyone getting off the court and saying, the game was too short.
Yeah. I thought it was a little short. I would much rather prefer a 15-15 and 10 tiebreaker. That would make more sense to me, I think.
Well, that may be for each individual match, but when you have to add them all up throughout the day, you might feel a little different. Even though you might want it to be longer, on the other hand, you may say, you know what, I'm better off taking my chances. I know some of the guys complain that their hands hurt afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you're better off just playing a shorter game and taking your chances and maybe having more left for the final.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm pretty definite about having a front ball exhibition at the Worlds. And I don't know how they're going to schedule that around the handball activities, or if they're just going to bring a few of their own pros in. That way they don't really have to worry about the scheduling.
Mm.
And I would think also that their players are probably better than our handball players who really don't play front ball. So that might show a higher level of competition also.
Mm.
But if you're interested in participating in that, you should get in touch with Jean-Michel and see if he can fit you in. How do you feel about using the red 21 for one wall, and how do you expect that ball to influence the outcome of the one wall nationals?
I definitely like using the red 21. It's fast, lively, it's got a lot of kick off the front wall, and it reacts well to spin. Every shot I hit, I usually put spin on it, so that's usually how I control the ball really well. And it favors a faster, stronger player, so I wouldn't be surprised if I saw Pee Wee in the finals again.
That's interesting. I don't think he's very happy about the ball.
Yeah, I mean, he says that now, but he's going to do his best with it. That's what Pee Wee does.
I know most people think the same thing as you do about a live ball, that it favors the power player. I used to think the same thing myself. But someone brought it to my attention, and over the years I sort of kept it in the back of my mind. I'm starting to agree with this other individual's opinion that the faster ball actually in some way helps a guy with less power. Someone like Pee Wee or yourself or any of the other guys that are hard hitters don't need a live ball to hit it hard, and may actually lose control because of the liveliness. A guy, just for one example, like Sweeney Lee, I think a faster ball is good for him. Because he has the control, but he lacks the power. So now you're giving him an opportunity to serve aces. It's sort of like if you're, and I may be off base here, but if you're a martial arts expert, you don't need a bat. You don't need for someone to come out with 2 bats and give you a bat and some schmo a bat. That way, whoever hits each other, wins the fight. You're much better off without the bats. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, but would serve like Pee Wee. I mean, at the Mayor's Cup, if I let him in the box a few more times, I might have lost in one of those games, the second game, because he was just serving hard out to the left, and I could barely catch up to the ball just by going laterally, because I wasn't trying to go back. I was just trying to dart to the left just to get his overhand serve on my left. it was almost behind me every time I was catching it.
And the courts at Central Park, the fence is much further back, so it gives you more room to stand back and retrieve that serve to the right.
Yeah.
The one to the left, it's kind of bad to stand back because the further back you are, the bigger the angle gets. If you're standing closer, then you could sort of cut it off. It's like guarding the goal during a hockey game. But I know Pee Wee hasn't practiced much with the ball, so I would expect that you're going to see a little bit more from him. You know, he usually makes sure, I'm sure after this weekend, the king of the courts, that he's going to try to concentrate on playing with the red ace.
Yeah.
For a lot of years, I've told him that he has to work on his serve up the right, that he doesn't hit it fast enough. And maybe this ball, in a way, helps because it's faster, helps his serve up the right. I always felt he didn't hit it at the right height, and he's not hitting it hard enough or deep enough that he should hit it towards the long line, because no one's going to return the serve up the right on the fly, and they're not going to short hop it. And as you previously said, then you wind up having to return the ball when it's almost behind you. Right. I heard that you served very well last Sunday. Do you attribute this to the use of the red 21? Did you have a change in your outlook? Did you? And what I mean by that is, I know in the past you've said that you don't want to make quick points. You don't feel that really shows that you're outplaying your opponent. Did you simply develop a better serve? Was the ball liver? Was it the heat that made the ball liver? Or maybe the tournament format where there were a lot of matches over the weekend in a hot environment, and you just, for once, said, you know what, I just want to get off the court quickly?
My serve definitely got better because of all the four-wall I've been playing. I've been playing a lot of four-wall with 21, so I've had a lot of practice with the ball. Maybe I wasn't playing one-wall, but my service game definitely got better because this year I've played the best four-wall I've probably ever played in my life. And for the service-wise, I mean, that ball's got a lot of kick to it, and even though I was serving very good serves, my opponents were still returning them. I was getting setups to kill, but I guess, yeah, it has changed because everybody could serve aces now. I mean, Joe Kaplan, I thought was going to have a crazy serve, so I didn't want to let him in the box much.
You know, I've personally found that in some ways it's easier to return the red 21 because you have to put less force back on the ball. Like, Kaplan usually has a deadly serve up the right, and I played him singles a few weeks ago, and it seemed like as long as I could kind of get my hand on the ball, and the ball also carries further out. So instead of you having to run in to retrieve his serve, you could kind of stay on the long line and take one step to the right and be able to just get your hand on and get it back on the wall.
Yeah, I agree. It kind of comes into you. Even some of Joe's serves really low, but it still kind of zips into you. That's why the volleys are tough, because when you're overhand rallying, I notice the ball just keeps kind of like darting into you. And even if you're rallying high, it keeps shooting forward. And everybody was having trouble with that. Pee Wee and Joe, I noticed, kept getting like their hands, caught.
You also mentioned that everyone can serve the ball now, and that was sort of the point I was making about the live ball doesn't really favor the more powerful players. It may make their game better, but they probably get less of an extra advantage than someone who never had the power. Like Jonathan who's also known as Sweeney, he beat Billy O'Donnell. I kind of felt that was an upset. And even some of the serves that John was hitting were much better than I see him hit in the past. I mean, he always had sort of a sneaky little serve, but it just seemed like it added more to his game.
Yeah. Billy's weakest game has always been one wall, I think. He always has trouble with one wall. Service, I think the service gets to him a lot. But,
Well, he's also a little on the heavy side, and that's tougher in the heat.
yeah.
He's running the tournament, which doesn't help him.
Yeah.
And I think part of his game is to, what's the right word? Let's use the word to be deceptive when he's hitting the ball, so that you don't really know where he's hitting it. And I think you could get more away with that more in 3 and 4 wall, where you can afford to just spray the ball around and it won't go off the court.
Mm.
But in 1 wall, if you hit the ball an inch too wide, you're out.
Yeah. Well, one wall, I don't really feel it's anything about surprising anybody. Like, only on passes do I get a little, like, deceptive. Other than that, my opponent should know what I'm going to do. It's just I'm doing it so well that he just can't stop me from doing it. You know, like, for the most part, I serve to the left really hard.
Sometimes that is the case. There's a lot of court, especially in 1 wall. I mean, I always tell people in singles, if you hit the right corner, you hit the left corner, the guy's going to be happy to get the second ball back. And if he gets that back, he's never getting the next one back to the right.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Was there anything else you wanted to say?
No.